Hi, my name's Kim Norris, and I'm residential math faculty at Mesa Community College. For the first-generation students, we like to have them have a feeling of inclusion. Our math and computer science department want them to know that we value them as part of our class. I strive to build belonging and inclusion in my classroom by greeting the students by name each day when they walk in my classroom. On the first day, I also like them to introduce themselves and tell me a little bit in the class a little bit about themselves. And I try to comment on each of their introductions so that they know that they are important and interesting to me. I also have my classroom divided into pods, groups of 4 desks. That way the students feel like they're part of a team, part of a community when they come in each day to work in math. I do a lot of board work in pairs, and I try to change those pairs up each day also. I found that this helps to overcome any social and cultural barriers that the students may feel by working with all the different people in the classroom. Equally important to me is making sure that the students are aware of all the resources available. And making them aware is one thing, but making them go is another. So what I've developed over the years is I have 5 bucket activities built into my syllabus and into the class. The students get 10 points for each bucket activity for a total of 50, and it is part of their grade. It's not optional. This way I can encourage the students to build their own idea of what they would like to attend rather than make them attend certain workshops. So things that I give bucket activities for would be math boot camps, which we offer in the summer and also in the winter break. And those boot camps work on the prerequisite skills for their upcoming class. I also offer a bucket activity points for attending 1 or more math interludes workshops. Those are just-in-time remediation workshops that are historically hard topics for students in math. Another example of a bucket activity would be attending student success workshops. Our student success workshops work more on the soft skills, time management, overcoming procrastination, dealing with math anxiety, and things like that. And last, I give bucket points or a bucket point for students going to see their advisor so that they can make up a 2-year plan. I found that gives the students a goal, a little checklist so that they can check off each of their classes as they complete them. Other things our college offers as resources are 3 types of tutoring. We have in-person tutoring, we have live online tutoring, and we have online tutoring the college purchased through BrainFuse. But again, the students don't just automatically go to the tutoring center every day after class. So to help break the ice, I do a couple different things. First, I invite tutors into my room so that they can see their face and understand they're just another student just like them, and some of them have just taken their class a couple years ago. And I also like to walk them over to the math tutoring center after the 2nd or 3rd class so that they can go in and see the smiley faces and understand that it's not that intimidating of a place. Dropout Detective is another means our college uses to help students who are struggling. So if a teacher is noticed that a student is falling behind, they can refer them to Dropout Detective. And the math retention specialist, Edwin Maldonado, can call the students in and talk to them one-on-one, perhaps give them tutoring, perhaps find resources that they need to help them be successful, but even just to let them know they're important and that we want them to succeed. So these bucket activities serve as an enrichment to students, obviously, but they also encourage them to seek assistance. My main objective is to help students take the first step in learning to help themselves succeed. Thank you.
So my name is Sophia O'Brien, and I am English faculty here at Mesa. I guess my first I think, conscious experience with first-generation students was, when I started teaching here at Maricopa Community College District. But getting involved with the FYE program here at Mesa really helped me to see the complexities and the joy of working with this demographic of college students. I started working with them during the pandemic at the very start. It was how I started here. It was one of my early classes. I taught English 101, and I taught ENH 190 with the FYE program. I find that there's such an exuberance for learning that I really appreciated with my students in those courses. And when I think about their experiences, some of the barriers for them, I can't help but think about some of those barriers are very institutional. Programs like FYE program are designed to help support students and teach them how to navigate those institutional barriers. But the problem is that we continuously, we don't often focus on how those institutional barriers are constructed and how they harm and inhibit our students' sort of growth. And so that's one of the things I try to do in the classroom by helping and to build a supportive community. And the best way I've found to do that is to allow students to tell their own stories. In essence, I talk about this a lot in my English and my first-year composition classes, but ultimately, whether it's research writing or personal writing, at the core of it all, we're all storytellers. And research is just one kind of story. By inviting students to share their experiences, to let them know that their experiences are valid and seen and felt, and also in sharing those experiences with others, they help build a community that is inculcated naturally and purposefully. And I think that's a really important aspect of it. Also by being focused on learning, right, and helping them developing a growth mindset. Growth mindset, it can be fostered by leaning on their experiences and driving home a sense of resilience. So there are things as an instructor we can do, aside from leaning in prior knowledge, ensuring that our assignments are fun and thoughtful and relevant to their interests, allowing students to pick their topics, allowing students to do podcasts and create web pages and do video essays. I do that in my classrooms, and students seem to enjoy that work. Also, implementing ungrading policies and labor-based grading contracts. And I've seen all those things work together, allowing students to collaborate with instructors as colleagues and facilitators in some respects helps them feel validated and seen. It's less someone talking to them or at them and sharing with them, encouraging their growth, encouraging their thoughtful feelings and their observations about the world. And that is, I think, a really important aspect of helping them be seen and heard.
My name is Lorraine Barrera, and I'm currently with the Reading Department at Mesa Community College. My role working with first-generation college students has been under the programs of TRIO, First-Year Experience, Early College Academy, as well as the ACE. What I do to go ahead and have students have that sense of belonging and be valuable at the community college is that as an instructor, I establish a community of learners. By doing that, we go into creating classroom norms that are going to be collaborative within our groups. We also go ahead and do introductions, explain a little bit more about our names and where did our names come from. We have an activity that I call Listen and Speak, where I allow for partners to go ahead and have 2 minutes where they share these experiences based on a given topic, where one person will listen and the other one is speaking using the full minute. We also answer to personalized questions. So one of the strategies that I do at the beginning of class is that I will prompt them with a real life question that aligns to their sense of belonging on campus, as well as what may be happening in their home, their life, their work. We also go ahead and have a moment of midpoint within the lesson or the class just to check in. How are we doing? Is everything okay? Do we need to go back and revisit the topic? I also have the students do a lot of networking. So initially at the beginning of the semester, students get comfortable within their group, and then maybe 2 weeks in, 3 weeks, I move the group members. That way they could go ahead and network and really get to meet everyone in the class. And this is where I say we build on a community of learners. We also tap into resources that the campus has to offer. And so I will have visitors come in and speak to the students, other facilitators from the programs. One of the other things that I will do is if a student is absent, I will send an email, check in, what happened, why were we absent, is there anything that the student may need. Usually they respond back. And so that kind of surprises my students when I check in on their attendance. The other thing that I tend to do is I'm very flexible because life is happening for our students. And so I want to be able to provide that flexibility. If they were unable to turn in an assignment, or maybe they needed to work with the tutor a little bit more. So I provide some flexibility. The other strategy that I use is the feed forward. So we tend to go back with feedback when it comes to assignments, but I turn around and actually focus on feed forward, which really taps into their learning experience. What can be done differently? Maybe that approach needs to be revisited, or maybe they just came up with a new way of handling that particular concept to be able to submit a final product when it comes to an assignment. Some of the institutional resources that I tend to use throughout the semester when it comes to students who are struggling or are being successful is that I have a team of facilitators, even embedded tutors, where I utilize throughout the whole semester. So I'm very fortunate to be able to have those connections, and my students know these individuals and know what they can do to help them. So if they're struggling, for example, with their grades, I use our retention specialist who will have that one-to-one meeting with the student to go ahead and provide additional resources. I also have the embedded tutor in my courses where my students know that they could go ahead and reach the embedded tutor to go ahead and have those one-to-one sessions as well. So for my struggling students, those are my resources that I tend to use. For my success, which I always capitalize on having success moments with my students, I refer them to Student Life, to the program that handles the scholarships. We also recognize those moments in the classroom because we want to go ahead and build that community of learners in successful moments. So other than having that role at Mesa Community College and providing that sense of belonging for the students that I service, I work in trying to make sure that it's not just a one-time moment for the semester, but for the duration of their college pathway. So I constantly connect with my students. When I see them down in working in the library or walking down the breezeway on our campus, I recognize them. I acknowledge what they're working on. I ask them those questions. So what's next? What are we doing? How can I help you? So I tend to build that relationship with my students, which makes me feel really good to be part of this community.